This week in Academy football, it's autumn, and as the leaves start to change color and fall, two Academy football teams fall with them, most notably Coast Guard. As the Springfield Pride blow out, shut out, and shut down the Bears. And now to Navy. It was a moment of celebration as linebacker Diego Fagot scooped and scored on the first sack of SMU QB Tanner Mordecai, only to have the celebration dashed on the ensuing kickoff as Brian Massey ran the kickoff back 95 yards for an in-your-face TD.
That kickoff return just killed us.
But last week, the news wasn't all bad as Air Force continued their winning ways with dominant defense and relentless rushing.
It's one game. It's one game. We want to keep building upon the good things that occurred.
And as for Army, for a battered and bruised Black Knight squad coming off their only loss of the season, it was a week of rest and prep for a Big Ten matchup with Wisconsin.
I hate to live with a loss for 2 weeks. It's agonizing. Hopefully we got a team that feels fresher and more ready this week than they did going into the last game.
What will happen this week in Academy football? There's only one place to get that answer. This is Behind the Lines, the Academy Football Report. Hello and welcome to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. The season is in full tilt and some trends are starting to emerge. The Air Force Falcons are flexing their muscle on both sides of the ball as they continue to roll, while the Navy Midshipmen took a step backwards in their hopes to right their ship. But a short week and a Thursday night game in Memphis may provide an opportunity. For Army, a mid-season bye made them hungry to erase their lone loss of the year. And for Coast Guard, a harsh reality check leaves the Bears trying to regroup. But we start with Air Force. The Falcons lead the nation in rushing, averaging 341 yards a game. They're holding opponents to less than 100 yards on the ground. They're number 2 in time of possession, only about 2 minutes behind Army, and they've got 2 players in the top 6, one in rushing and the other with quarterback sacks, all of which added up to an Air Force 24-14 win over previously unbeaten Wyoming, raising the Falcons' record to 5-1, and Air Force's dominance was clear from the start of that game. From the opening kickoff, the Falcons kept the ball on the ground, using more than 8 minutes and going 75 yards for a score on their first possession, capped off by a 1-yard Brad Roberts TD run. Roberts would carry 10 times in that 15-play drive alone, on his way to a career-high 33 carries and 140 yards on the ground for the day.
It's a lot of the offensive line letting me get to the second level half the time, letting me take on the littler guys, so it's a lot better there too.
Roberts is 6th in the nation in rushing and 2nd in carries with 150 through 6 games.
There's definitely a lot of bumps and bruises, but I think so far I've been pretty good. Going to the trainers, all the trainers are helping me out a ton.
The Falcons jumped out to a 14-0 lead before Wyoming tied things up just before halftime thanks to 2 quick big play drives. In the second half, Air Force took to the skies, attacking multiple times in an aerial assault on the arm of QB Hazik Daniels, who led the sorties. Daniels, who didn't attempt a pass in the first half, went 7 for 10 in the second half for 110 yards, which included a 13-yard strike to Micah Davis for a score.
Air Force!
To top things off, the Air Force D closed down the Cowboys, holding them to just 87 yards of offense in the second half and no points. Linebacker Vince Sanford came up with a huge 20-yard strip sack to stop a Wyoming drive in the 4th. Sanford is now tied for 6th in the nation with 6.5 sacks on the season.
In high school, I played wide receiver mostly, so I never envisioned myself as a pass rusher, but when they put me in a position, I just try to do my best and do what I can do.
He has good quickness. He just has so much savvy in the way that he plays. And the good part is he can get stronger too.
But the Falcons' schedule doesn't let up. Next up, a trip to Blue Turf and Mountain West perennial powerhouse Boise State. Even though the Broncos are just 3-3 this year, they're coming off a convincing beatdown of 10th-ranked BYU. After that, the Falcons are home against a top 25 matchup against San Diego State, and then in the first week of November, it's the Commanders Classic against Army in Arlington, Texas. And now to Navy. After their first win of the season, the Mids had high hopes even though they were playing undefeated SMU with one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country. But Navy penalties and a special teams blunder allowed the Mustangs to come away with a 31-24 win. Here's Diane Roberts.
Graham, there was so much optimism after Navy's come-from-behind win against UCF. Special teams played well, the offense was clicking, and then SMU came to town. In just 4 plays, the now 23rd ranked Mustangs jumped out to a 7-0 lead on a 66-yard Tanner Mordecai pass to Reggie Roberson, barely 90 seconds into the game. The Mids answered on their second drive of the game, capping off a 50-yard drive with a Chance Warren 23-yard scamper to tie the game at 7-all. Navy would jump out to a 14-7 lead thanks to some trickery. A 38-yard flea flicker from quarterback Ty Lavatai to slotback Kai Pualoa Rojas early in the second.
We kind of worked on that, obviously, throughout practice during the week. Coaches are geniuses. They drew it up exactly how it was going to look. We got the look we wanted in the game and just executed.
It was Lavatai's first career passing touchdown. Then, midway through the quarter, Navy's defense lowered the boom on Mordecai. Nose tackle Clay Cromwell caused a strip sack that linebacker Diego Fagos scooped and scored from 21 yards out to give the Mids a 2-touchdown lead. The momentum was short-lived. SMU's Brian Massey returned the ensuing kickoff 95 yards to cut the lead to 7 in another special teams breakdown.
You know, you're up 21-7 and you're feeling really good about things. You know, we got the crowd in the game. Everything is going great, and that kickoff return just killed us.
The Mustangs would add another score before halftime, and just like that, the game was tied at 21 after 2. In the second half, the Navy offense sputtered, punting twice, turning the ball over on downs twice, and only scoring on a 50-yard field goal by Bajan Nichols. For the game, Navy had 241 yards of offense, but only 79 of them in the second half.
Offensively, we just couldn't get anything going. That hurt us, not being able to be consistent on offense in the second half.
Meanwhile, Mordecai would throw his second touchdown of the day to cap off the 7-point Mustang win. By the way, he leads all of college football with 26 touchdowns on the year. Navy has to have a short memory about this one. They take their 1-4 record on the road to Memphis for a Thursday night conference game. Then it's back to Annapolis the following week to host Cincinnati. Graham, the Bearcats are ranked 3rd in the nation, so that will not be an easy one.
Thanks, Diane. Just a programming note. Navy played at Memphis on Thursday, but the production schedule for this show didn't allow us to include our report on that game in this broadcast. You'll find our Memphis game report on our website at BehindTheLinesTV.com. That's BehindTheLinesTV.com. Even though the Mids lost the game to SMU, there were several bright spots, including linebacker Johnny Hodges, who had his best game of the season with 14 tackles and a key interception in the end zone to stop an SMU drive. Coach Ken Niumatalolo singled out the junior from Darnestown, Maryland for having had a great game. And now to Army. The Black Knights had last week off after losing their first game of the season 28-16 to Ball State. Now sitting at 4-1, the Black Knights' marching orders take them to Wisconsin. But will their week of rest be enough? Erin Summers has a preview.
Head coach Jeff Monken said several players are still nursing injuries, but he expects his team to be fresh heading into Camp Randall for what is likely to be a defensive battle.
They are really, really good on defense, and it doesn't matter who they play. It doesn't matter what offense it is or how talented the players are that they're playing against. They're really, really good. And it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us to be able to run the ball effectively.
At 2-3, Wisconsin has played some stout competition, facing 3 teams in the top 25. Even with losses to Notre Dame, Michigan, and Penn State, the Badgers have the #1 rushing defense in the country and are ranked 2nd in total defense. Army's defense is right there with them, ranking 9th in total defense and 3rd against the run. However, it's the Black Knights' reliance on the run that could prove the biggest challenge. The Black Knights are averaging 318 yards on the ground per game. The Badgers are allowing teams to run for just 41.
They're hard to block, hard to keep blocked, and it's just going to take a tremendous effort on the part of our players to be able to move them and create seams and make plays and break tackles and all those things that it takes to be successful on offense.
Coach Monken hasn't hinted on who will start under center for the Black Knights against Wisconsin. Remember, Christian Anderson leads the nation's quarterbacks with 108 rushing yards per game in the 4 games he's played. We'll see if he's healthy enough to go on Saturday.
Thank you, Erin. And just a quick postscript. Army tops the nation in time of possessions, holding the ball an average of 40 minutes per game. They also lead the FBS in fewest penalties and fewest penalty minutes per game. On defense, Black Knights linebacker Andre Carter leads all of football with 7.5 quarterback sacks so far this season. It should be a fun matchup with the Badgers. And now to Coast Guard. Little did the Coast Guard Bears know when they boarded the buses for Springfield College this weekend, just 75 miles north, how inhospitable a trip it would be. Nothing went right for the Bears, beginning with the opening kickoff, as the Pride trounced Coast Guard 60-zip. Springfield recovered the opening onside kick and then marched 47 yards in less than 3 minutes to take a 7-0 lead. And it got worse for the Bears. Their first drive ended with minus 12 yards and a fumble at their own 16-yard line. 2 plays later, it was 14-0 Springfield. By halftime, the Pride led 47-zip, scoring on all 8 of their possessions. Coast Guard only had 1 yard of offense in the first half and finished the game with just 42 yards on the day. The loss drops the Bears to 2-4 on the season. It's another road trip this week to Washington, D.C. to take on the Catholic University Cardinals in a new MAC conference game. But in just a month, the Bears will play in their biggest rivalry game of the year against the Merchant Marine Mariners. So it's time we set the stage for that matchup. The Mariners are undefeated this season with a 5-0 record. This past weekend, they had a commanding 49-14 conference win over Norwich, a team that beat the Bears 24-21. This past Saturday, the Mariners jumped out to a 21-0 lead after the first quarter, scoring on all 3 of their drives without throwing a pass. And the US MMA never looked back. The Mariners held a 35-7 lead at half. They were led by senior quarterback Ivan Blankenship, who rushed for 1 TD and threw for another. In all, 7 different Mariners found the end zone. Norwich put up almost 500 yards of offense against Coast Guard a week earlier, but could only muster 175 against Merchant Marine. The Mariners had 453 yards of offense, 85% of that on the ground. They're averaging 48 points a game in their 5 wins and host conference foe MIT this week. Coming up a little later on Behind the Lines, we continue our conversation with former Navy head football coach Paul Johnson on his coaching tree, which includes Coach Ken Niumatalolo, Coach Jeff Monken, and Coach Ivan Jasper. But when Behind the Lines returns, we take a look at the woodsman's tool that has become emblematic of the Army Black Knights' stingy defense. Stay with us. Behind the Lines will be right back after this.
Five years ago, Miami started a new trend in college football with the introduction of their turnover chain. Since then, sidelines have seen turnover planks, trash cans, belts, robes, and even Mardi Gras beads. Army defensive coordinator Nate Woody said he was the last guy who'd jump on a trend like that until he came across something that embodies his defensive philosophy to a T. It all started on a trip to Notre Dame and a newspaper article that caught Coach Woody's eye.
A nice little quote about defense, a little poem or whatever, but defense is a demanding taskmaster, relentless taskmaster, and to be played well calls on one to give himself full. Sweat and effort are his trademarks, and when forcefully applied, it's blunt an instrument as an ancient broadaxe.
An ancient tool used to hew logs and those kinds of things. Has a very wide blade, and so obviously you swing an axe with a wide blade, it cuts a large path. And I think that's just a kind of a mentality and a spirit of the defense that to say that we're gonna cut a wide path with our defense and swing a big stick.
So we just sort of took that as a bit of our moniker, something that is a weapon, something that can be swift, something that can be powerful, deadly, and just sort of think of our defense in that sort of same, manner.
The Broad Axe has become quite popular for the Army football team. It not only represents their fast, physical play, but it is also given as a reward for superior defensive performance.
It's really hard for me to get it back from them. whenever we give that axe to the guys, also give it to a guy that demonstrated the best effort, attitude during the course of the week. And he gets to keep that thing, awarded on a Friday in our team meeting. He gets to keep it overnight and hold on to that until game time.
And I think that's kind of a little memento to give the people to kind of keep the culture there, invisible, so everybody understands what they're working to achieve.
I think they like it. I think they enjoy it. I think they like the symbol of it and understand that that's our deal. That's how we play. We play fast, physical, and being able to have some sort of representation of that is a good thing.
Whether it's the Axe or Coach Woody himself, something is working for the Black Knights defense. Army ranks top 5 in the NCAA in rushing defense and top 10 in total defense.
Anytime that you're successful in this game, because this is a hard game to play, it's a hard game to win. And anytime that you can be successful in it, I do think it's a good deal to be able to enjoy it and celebrate it a little bit.
If you watch an Army game, you'll likely see the Axe on the sideline at some point. And like Coach Woody says, why not have some fun while putting in the hard work? When Behind the Lines returns, the modern-day mastermind of the triple option, Paul Johnson, talks about 2 of his disciples who are leading Service Academy football teams today. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. If you're a fan of the NFL, you've heard of the Bill Parcells coaching tree, or the Bill Belichick coaching tree, or the Tony Dungy coaching tree. Mighty trunks with branches made up of other head coaches throughout the league. There's one in Academy football too, and its roots start with former Navy head coach Paul Johnson. Diane Roberts had a chance to talk with Coach Johnson about those familiar names who learned from him.
Army head coach Jeff Monken has been coaching for 32 years, with stints at Arizona State, Georgia Southern, and Georgia Tech before settling in at Army in 2014. Navy head coach Ken Niumatalolo has been coaching for 31 years, with stops in Hawaii and UNLV before landing in Annapolis. What they have in common is this guy, Paul Johnson, who was Navy's head coach from 2002 to 2007.
It's always a source of point of pride. Both those guys coached and with me for a number of years. And then Jeff was with me at Georgia Southern, at Navy, and at Georgia Tech for a while.
One of the most competitive people I've ever been around, and just one of the best play callers that I think the college football's had in a long time.
How about our kicker?
Coach Monken was with Coach Johnson from 1989 to 1990, and again from 1997 to 2009. Coach Niumatalolo from 1990 to 1994, and again from 2002 to 2007. But Coach Niumat got his start with Coach Johnson as a player, and so did Navy's quarterbacks coach, Ivan Jasper.
And I can remember when he was quarterback at the University of Hawaii. Both he and Coach Jasper played for me there, as both were quarterbacks. And then he became a video guy for a year, and then a GA.
Started learning from him back then, and I knew back then that he was a special coach, really, really smart. You know, this is basically his offense, along with Coach Stowers and some other coaches. I can't remember the guy's name, but that they kind of put this offense together. Just a lot of bits and pieces that they, over the years had come in. So, but it's kind of really his creation.
When I went to the Naval Academy, I was able to bring him over with us to the Naval Academy, and he just kind of worked his way up.
Coach Monken and Coach Niumatalolo worked on the same staff with Coach Johnson at Navy from 2002 to 2007. That's when they started learning the ways of the triple option and more.
certainly the offense, the scheme is a big part of it. We both utilize the offense that we learned under Coach Johnson. I think we both learned competitiveness and I think a demand for excellence, which Coach had, and to try to maximize the players that we had and to try to be as good as we could be, to work really, really hard to coach fundamentals, which I think is a really, really important part of the game.
If it wasn't for him, I'd still be in Hawaii. I would say probably driving a tour bus or something. I don't know what I'd be doing, but grateful for Coach Johnson.
Now we're left to wonder who will branch off from coaches Monken and Niumatalolo to be the next generation of Coach Johnson's tree.
Thank you, Diane. When Behind the Lines continues, we have a fun stat for you for the Navy Midshipmen in celebration of their Thursday night game this week. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Behind the Lines. That's just about going to do it for this broadcast of Behind the Lines. But as we close things out, here's one final note for you. The Navy Midshipmen play for the 8th time since 1972 on October 14th, and they've only won once since on that date, in 1978 beating Duke. In fact, they've lost the last 5 straight October 14th games. We'll let you know next week if this year is any different. Thanks for watching. We'll see you right here on Behind the Lines next time.